Starforcing might be a bit confusing on how it works and the most efficient ways to use it, so in this video I try to explain it the best I can. Welcome to the Casual's Guide to Starforcing. So what's Starforcing? Starforcing is a mechanic that allows you to upgrade your items through mesos and RNG. Each star level will provide your equipment stats and even more as you go up the levels. Each level has a chance to fail moving up, but you won't go down a level until reaching above 15 stars. To help increase the odds of success, you can do a star catching minigame. All you have to do is land the star in the orange box. After a couple of tries of Starforcing, the star catch will keep increasing in speed even when not using the star catch feature. Some sources say that the speed resets every 10 minutes server time, so for example 410, 420 and so on. This is really useful to get the extra odds when going from 19 to 20 stars. But if you have access to the enchantment altar in your guild castle, all star catching will pass and be done automatically. So super good. Once you hit 15 stars, now you have a chance to boom your items. Booming is essentially destroying your item and leaving a trace. But don't worry, the item trace still retains its flame and potential. By placing another copy of that item, you can transfer the trace into it. The item will retain everything, but the stars are reduced to 12. To combat this, for both 15 and 16, you can safeguard it and reduce the boom possibility to 0. It will cost a bit more mesos though. Failing a star from 16 onwards will drop the level of the star to the previous. The only two exceptions are 15 and 20 stars. These are milestone stars, and even if you fail at these star levels, you will not drop a star. The reason Starforcing is so strong is not only because you gain main stat, but 15 stars and after you are able to get attack and magic attack, which will significantly increase your damage range. And that should be the basics for Starforcing done. So let's talk about the transfer hammer. The transfer hammer allows you to move the potential and stars of one item onto another. There are some restrictions as the items you are transferring into must be only within 10 levels higher. If you have a higher potential than epic, upon transferring it will be reduced back to epic. Also, the star level is reduced by 1. But why would you transfer hammer and lose 1 star instead of Starforcing your items directly? Cost and safety. Some items are very rare and booming them becomes highly likely. We use items called Fodder as a way to bypass this. By working on an item that is more common, we can star it to the point we need, and even if it booms, we have more common replacements to try again. For example, a Connor ring is a lot more common than a superior Golux ring, so we star that and transfer it. Both cheaper and saves you a ton of stress. This leads into my first tips and tricks. With us being able to transfer fodder into better and rarer gear, there are certain star levels we try to get before transferring, that being at 16 and 21 stars. This is due to the fact that when they drop a star, they'll be at the milestone stars, so no matter how many times you fail, they can't go lower. They can still boom though. If you were to do them at any other point like 17, they have the potential to drop back to 15 and your progress is lost. Because of the changes to Starforcing a while back, transferring at 16 stars is less common, because the boom chance and dropping a level from failing has been removed from 10 to 15. It will still save you mesos though. When you transfer at 21 stars, it gets put at 20 and it's a lot safer to then try to get 21 or 22 stars. The next tip is, make sure to save your fodder equips. Like I said before, fodder items are used to transfer into rare items, so make sure to have a bunch. They might fill your inventory but are needed if you want to make significant gains. On the screen are the most commonly used fodder items and what they transfer into. Another tip is to always try to Starforce during events. Starforcing has many events that will drastically lower the mesos you use and even make it easier to get 20 stars and above. The events are 2 stars for each success for items 10 stars and under, 30% off, and 5, 10, 15. The 2 stars for items under 10 stars are not really talked about as often because they provide the least significant gains. But you can still use it to start items for your other lower level characters and save some mesos. 30% off is just what it sounds like. 30% off all Starforce enhancements. Really good as it saves you a bunch of mesos. 5, 10, 15. At the 5, 10, 15 marks, it is a 100% chance for it to succeed. Really great event to try the 20 star items, because instead of having to land 5 30% in a row, you just need 4 to reach 20 stars. But the greatest event for Starforcing is Shining Starforce, which is both 30% and 5, 10, 15 on the same day. Absolutely the best day to Starforce and something you should save up for. It provides the best meso cost and makes it easier to 20 star. It's a pretty rare event though and may only come up twice every year, unless Nexon feels like blessing us. Next tip, don't Starforce Tyrant Gear or any Magnus equips. Tyrant Gear used to be peak equipment back in the day, but now the cost outweigh the usefulness, and new gear like Arcanes take its place. Tyrant Gear has less stars, but each star drastically increases the stats. The stats are good, but getting them to a high enough star to make them useful is the hard part. The cost of an enhancement is drastically higher than any other equipment. Not only that, there is no milestone stars, and every time you fail, you drop a star. So you could spend billions and still get nowhere. Also, none of the Starforce events are applied to these equips. Tyrant Gear are in my opinion not worth it and more of a flex. Arcanes and Absolabs will get you great gains at a fraction of the price. The next tip is knowing when to use rouletting and committing. Rouletting is essentially moving all your items one star at a time together. So for example, you get one item to 18, and you move on to another item and get it to 18 stars as well, and so on. This is a really good strategy for items like Arcanes, as you will slowly start gaining stat without committing too much into one item and blowing it up. Especially Arcanes, since you have to wait 6 weeks for coins or pray for a drop. This strategy works well if you also have limited mesos and want to make the most out of Starforce events. It doesn't feel great when you spend all your mesos on one item to see it boom and gain no or less range at the end. This guarantees at least for you to make progress and feel good. Working hand to hand with rouletting is committing. Committing is focusing your resources on one item, and once they reach the point you want, you then move on to something else. If you happen to blow up your main equipment, don't start another right away. Transfer the trace and try to get it back to where you were and then decide to try again or do another item. If you start flaking after the boom and work on another equip, and then they happen to boom, now you're in a situation where you have to spend a lot more mesos and items to get back those equips as well. Consistency is key during Starforcing, and being unorganized will mess up your items and your mesos. If you're able to pair rouletting and committing together, you'll have greater success during Starforcing. The next tip is, make a to-do list before any big Starforcing event. This tip saved me a bunch of stress and allowed me to make the best use of my time in mesos. When you pre-plan what equips you need to star and the order you want to do them in, it gives you structure and you don't have to worry. The stress of Starforcing can throw you off, and when one boom happens or your mesos start getting lower, you start to panic and make irrational decisions. This way, even if a boom happens, you can keep on schedule and move on. I made one during the last 30% off event and it worked wonders for me. My last and most important tip is, Starforce when you want. I know that I hyped up Shining Starforce and many players would tell you to save, and this is some great advice. But if you want a Starforce and maybe a 30% or 5, 10, 15 event comes, go ahead. You might be at a stage of your progression where you completely plateaued, and just saving for Shining Starforce is making you bored and disinterested in the game. I say go ahead and Starforce. Get that extra gain to make it to the next level of bosses and content. Shining Starforce may be the most efficient event, but if you get bored of the game and don't play, what's the point? Try to make smart meso decisions, but prioritize your fun in the game first. Now, what equipment should you prioritize Starforcing? I'm nowhere near endgame, so this will be going up to the point I'm currently at and a little speculation. I talk specifically about a few equipment, but you should be starring your other items alongside them as well. Remember, potentials and flames also play a huge part in damage. Before getting CRA gear, Pencilier and Von Leon at 12 stars should do the trick. I prefer Von Leon because I feel it's just a better set in general. Once you get 3 sets CRA gear and 12 star them, you should be able to take on all bosses up to Chaos Vellum. From there, I would 17 star the entire CRA set. This should be enough to allow you to beat both Normal Lotus and Damien. From there, you should prioritize 17 starring the Absolab weapon, gloves, capes, shoes, and shoulder. This should be enough for you to beat Normal Guardian Angel Slime, and if you know the mechanics, easy Lucid and Will. Once you reach this point, there's a huge jump in power that you need to reach in order to start soloing Normal Lucid and Will. Your CRA hat, top and bottom, should be your first 21 starred items. Many people just commit and get them straight from 17 to 21 stars. You should have multiples of these items, so don't worry if they boom. For me, I rouletted up to 19, then pushed them all to 21, but you can do whatever is best for you. I leave Absolabs at 17 stars because very soon they're going to get replaced by Arcanes, and this just saves mesos. Next equipment that should be prioritized are the Golux accessories, Reinforced or Superior. I would try to 20 or 21 star them. Reinforced has only its previous versions to transfer from, but Superior has that and other items to choose from. Superior is better, but sometimes they don't drop, and you can just transfer your Reinforced ones when you do get the Superior versions. This should be enough to beat Normal Will and Lucid and unlock Arcane Gear. Arcane Gear is next and should be 17 starred. This will allow you to beat Hard Damien and Lotus and anything underneath them. Now because I'm not past this point, I don't know what's next, but I believe from there you can choose to start trying to 21 star Arcanes and any pitch boss equips you get. After you're done all that, you can just 22 star everything. Hopefully this chart can give you a bit of direction and is clear to understand. And that's the end of this guide. Hopefully you now know more about how Starforcing works and learned a couple tips and tricks. If I left out anything that could help, please put it in the comments. Have fun progressing and have fun mapling. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!